I'm long overdue for a valve adjustment, so I'm going to do a valve adjustment quick. I'm going to show you how to do it. If you haven't done it, you need to. This is for basically any pit bike engine, 49cc to 212, and it's basically the same for each one, at least in the head. The way you line the timing marks up might be different slightly, but it's all basically the same. So I'm going to try to hit every step and show exactly how to do it, at least on this 212. It's a 2 valve. So yeah, let's adjust the valves and see where mine are at. Alright, first step for me was removing these Allen heads so that my oil cooler can kind of sway, so I can get it out of the way to get the valve cover off. Next, I'm going to pull the spark plug out because you're going to be rotating the engine over by hand, and the least amount of compression, aka none, the better. It's also a good time to see what your spark plug looks like. See if it's any, lean, rich, burned up, gapped wrong. That looks pretty rich to me. Pretty rich. I guess the inside's not too bad. But, good time to look at it. On the 212, you're going to have to take these plugs out. Kind of a pain sometimes, because the O-ring on this one likes to stay in there, which is no big deal because it doesn't actually hold back any kind of liquids. It's just basically a dust cover. This one's all marred up because I've done this a few times. I'm really not a giant fan of that the way it is, because if you see, I can file that down, it's no big deal, but every time I do it, because it's such a big slot, it kind of mars it up, but not a big deal. What size is that? I believe that's a 14 in there. It's a 14 in there, so what you're going to do is you're going to look down this slot. I don't know how good you'll be able to see that, but that little mark on the left says T for top dead center, and there's that line right there on the flywheel lined up with that slit. That's where you want it to stay. Next step is you got 4 8mm bolts that hold the valve cover on. Crack those suckers off. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Okay, and there's 4. So, get the oil cooler as much out of the way as you can. Get the valve cover off. As you can see, nice and clean in there. Looking real good. And then we have your adjustments, which is right here. That one and the one on the bottom. They actually don't feel bad, but I'm going to check them, make sure they're within spec anyways, and retighten them. Okay, so the top one's your intake valve. You want to check for up and down play. This one has hardly any. So what I'm going to do is take my feeler gauge. They're kind of rusty and crusty, but this is a .004. I'm going to slide it under the top of the valve here. I think I usually do .003 on these. Do I have one on here? I should. Let's check. There we go. Let's just do both at .003 because I'm pretty sure it's what I always use. Very thin, flimsy, and that's perfect. A little bit of resistance. Doesn't slide easy, doesn't get stuck. That's exactly how you want it to feel. So that valve is just perfectly fine. Now we'll go to the other side and hit the exhaust valve. This one might be a little harder to see, but it's on the bottom. So, apparently, I don't have to adjust mine at all. They're good. But if you were to adjust them, what you'd do is you'll crack that nut loose just enough, and then some valves have a flat head right there at the tip. Some are like this, a little square. But either way, crack that loose, and then if you loosen the actual adjuster, it'll give you more play. If you tighten it, it'll tighten it up. And you want to have everything loose, put the feeler gauge in there, barely finger tighten the adjuster till it's tight against the feeler gauge, finger tighten the adjuster, check the clearance, and then you want to tighten the nut while holding the adjuster in the middle steady. You don't want it to tighten, because if you tighten the nut, it'll tighten the adjuster, then all your adjustments just keep getting tighter and tighter. It takes a few tries, but it's really simple to do. And then once you're done, you tighten it up. Once you've tightened it all up, you check them again, make sure nothing moved, and then you put it back together and you're good. Surprisingly, mine sounds like they're getting noisy, but I might just need to put a new exhaust gasket in. So maybe I'll pull the exhaust off, put a new exhaust ring in there, and call it good. So I'm going to put the valve cover back on, everything else, and then I'll do an exhaust gasket. I was actually really expecting the valves to need adjustments. It kind of sucks that they didn't. I couldn't get a good video actually doing it, but you get the idea, I'm sure. Very simple. I personally set my exhaust and intake to 0.003. Sometimes I'll do like 0.003 intake, 0.004 exhaust, but I've had good luck with 0.003 on both of them. Get this other side off quick. Okay, those are off, and now what do I have over here? 14 mil. So now I just gotta take this bracket off. Holds the exhaust on. Okay, take that off. Exhaust is off. I don't see a gasket on the pipe, so I'm gonna look up in the head port here, see if I can see any gasket. I gotta use a pick to get out, or if it's just completely gone. I feel like I kind of see one. Yep. Okay. So here we have a lopsided exhaust gasket. So it's working, it's still there. I'm gonna put a new one in there though. Here's what it should look like. Copper. It's round. Old one. New one. What I like to do is just take a very tiny little bit of any kind of grease. And I mean just a tiny little bit. Dab it right on the gasket. And this is the only purpose this serves is to keep it up in the head and from falling out. Nothing else. No sealing power, nothing like that. Just to make life easier. Just like that. So now, it's stuck up in there because of the grease. Hopefully it doesn't fall out. Now I can get the exhaust bolted back up. So, what I'm going to do, put the head pipe in there. Line the flange up. Get the 10s on the flange started so nothing can fall. Get the bracket back on back here, and you can't see it, but you know what I'm talking about. And then find your 10 mil, tighten these up evenly. You don't want to crank one down first, then the other. You want to go little by little on both so that you get that gasket evenly crushed in there. And it's kind of like putting a brand new spark plug in. You'll kind of feel it crushing. I mean, obviously you don't want to over tighten stuff, but you can kind of feel that gasket as it crushes and seals. Right there. Perfect. And now, tighten the back bracket back up. Keep in mind another thing to remember. Almost all of these little pit bike engines are aluminum. All the threads are aluminum. You don't need to crank things super tight. Snug them in, you know. Nothing needs to be torqued to 100 foot-pounds as far as valve cover bolts and things like that. So Don't strip out your spark plug. Don't strip out your aluminum things here, you know. Just nice, good snug. One more quick little thing that I never knew that I wish I knew a long time ago is look at the Kickstart lever. So that's the 212 Kickstart lever, this one. How big and ugly it is. That's off the 140. This one's pretty tight. It doesn't wiggle, like it moves with the shaft, but it doesn't have any play other than that. This thing flopped and wiggled and made noise, and it was just ugly. Hit my leg. I never knew that it fit, and it just looks so much better. Look at it. Smaller. It doesn't even go up past the exhaust, and the other one was up by like the catch can, way up over here. So that just changes everything on this side. It makes it look so much cleaner. That's going to be a lot less noise with things vibrating, a lot less ugly. You can get rid of that ugly, huge, floppy 190 212 Kickstart lever and put a smaller one on there that fits. So good to know. Let's see if I can kickstart this thing dead cold with the new Kickstart lever and Crocs. Easy as that.
Alright, I suppose I can give it a couple revs, wake the neighbors up quick.
That's how you do the valves. That's how you put an exhaust gasket in. Probably two of the easiest things you can do. Yeah.